All right, ladies and gentlemen, normally I start the show with the tagline for this movie, and I gotta skip this tagline because all I have to say is Mickey Rourke should have won the fucking Oscar for this movie. That's all I'm gonna say.
The world don't give a shit about me.
Nobody cares about Mickey Rourke, but more of this. Stay tuned. Hold on to your seat because MovieByte podcast starts now. All right, good evening, good afternoon, good morning to anybody that is listening live. Thank you for joining us. Anybody that might be listening to us later on, thank you for joining us as well. I know we promised that we were going to do this last Tuesday. We unfortunately, events in our lives under the weather. Something's going on in the air, so we had to move it to today, Thursday. But here we are, and we're going to be talking about The Wrestler by Darren Aronofsky, starring Mickey Rourke, Marisa Tomei, and Evan Rachel Wood as the top billing actors in this film. Mickey Rourke taking the headline. Like I said, it's directed by Darren Aronofsky, who we all know, or if you don't know, is famous for a role for his movie like Requiem for a Dream, which we would love to analyze at some point in this podcast because it is one movie that is hard to swallow after you see it one time. He jumped more into popularity by doing Black Swan with Natalie Portman, and most recently The Whale with Brendan Fraser, who he won his first Academy Award for Best Actor for The Whale, which we previously mentioned in our The Mummy podcast. So if you haven't seen that one, I invite you to do so. Before we dive in, I know the last time we talked about we want the audience to pick our next movie. Because we were such in a short time frame, next week we'll be discussing Alex Garland's Civil War. But for those who are joining us we'll keep reminding through the show, we want you guys to give us a decade, any decade that you wish, and we're gonna pick the movie from that decade, and that will be the next movie that we'll review and break down after Civil War. Okay, so throughout the show, if anybody sees follow your behind the scenes, post those decades so we can see who wins the majority of those. But back to The Wrestler. It was written by Robert Siegel, who before he wrote this movie, he worked for the website The Onion, who was a satirical website that did political media, pretty much made fun of everything that was happening in the world. And he also wrote Turbo, the animated movie that Ryan Reynolds voices a snail that turns out to be fast after being genetically mutated by energy drink. And The Founder with Michael Keaton, that is about the Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, or the person that stole the idea of McDonald's from the McDonald brothers, right?
He did not steal it. He popularized it. He
made it better. He got the concept and he made it better, but he screwed them in the long term. So another great movie for us.
You bought them out. Like if you want to, you see, I already disagree. We haven't talked about that movie, but yeah, okay. He, in your words, he screwed them. In my eyes, he just was a better businessman. So
I'm saying on the chat, a lot of people are already picking the 80s as a decade. I like the 80s. The 80s was a good year for movies, so 80s I think is winning. If anybody can throw a genre from 80s, I'll also narrow it down for us so later we can pick a movie.
They're gonna pick scary movie because they know I hate scary movies. Well, you're not the fan either, so
I don't like scary movies, but 80s was good for slasher films, so we might be able to take care of a slasher film.
The Thing.
Ooh, The Thing, that'll be a good one. Thriller, okay. All right, so back to The Wrestler. Couple of things. It was Mickey Rourke's highlight of his career. Only Oscar nomination he got from this movie. Mickey Rourke's career was it's a roller coaster. You know, he was in the 80s a top leading man. He was considered one of the most handsome actors at that time, at that decade, starring in films like 9.5 Weeks, The Marvel Man, if I'm mistaken, a bunch of detective movies. He after that decided to do a career in boxing because he was a former boxer. So he got hit in the face a lot and then did a lot of surgeries. He made a comeback to movies with Frank Miller's Sin City, directed by Robert Rodriguez. So he portrayed the character Marv. So whoever's seen Sin City, that character is amazing in that film. Which from there he did other films like Man on Fire with Denzel Washington, with The Wrestler being the movie that puts him back on that spotlight. And after that, he did blockbuster movies like Iron Man 2, where he played Whiplash, and The Expendables with Sylvester Stallone. And from there, he just went straight to DVD movies and independent films to the point that eventually he retired from acting. He's known for his strong political views, his religion, and his love for dogs. So he's been a very controversial character. And I'm going to bring this out. Like, watching this movie, it's like watching Mickey Rourke's career. I found it such a sad story. And I know you're probably going to dive into that. But that's how I was seeing it. I was seeing Mickey Rourke's career in this film. Like, he was putting his blood and sweat, literally blood and sweat, in this film. So before we go into analyzing the plot and everything that this is, a couple of notes on production that I'd like to share. The movie was released in December 17, 2008, right in time for the Oscar race. It had a budget about $6 to $8 million, very small budget. It was considered an independent film at that point before Fox Searchlight bought it to distribute it. A lot of that money pretty much went between production and Aronofsky's promotion. A lot of the things that wrestlers, pretty much some of them worked for free. Mickey Rourke's salary was very below. Same with Marisa Tomei. So a lot of these actors didn't get paid the amount because they kind of wanted the movie to be made. The biggest thing I found out is that Nicolas Cage was supposed to be a main star for this film. He was originally cast in 2007. He was doing research. He was spotted in wrestling events, like Ring of Honor wrestling events, Combat Zone wrestling. That we saw some clips in the film those are real wrestling events. But Darren Aronofsky always wanted Mickey Rourke for the role. He never wanted Cage. The studio wanted Cage, but Nicolas Cage later says in an interview that he felt that Aronofsky didn't want him, and that's why he stepped down from the role, opening the way to Aronofsky casting Rourke in the role that he pretty much always envisioned.
Is it true that they actually, or I heard or read the rumor that Hulk Hogan was supposed to maybe possibly play that true, or is this
yes? So Hulk Hogan did claim in an interview. I want to say I can be misquoting this. I think it was either like Larry King Live or one of these news popular interviewers. He claims that he was offered the role, but Darren Aronofsky completely denies that. He said that Mickey Rourke was the only one that he always wanted for the role. Nicolas Cage was at some point attached, but that was a studio decision. Rourke was always number one in Aronofsky's heart. So Hulk Hogan, according to Aronofsky, was never offered a role. But Hulk Hogan claims that he was offered a role. And I can see where he might be saying that, because there are a lot of references. Like the character of the Ram, which is played by Mickey Rourke, has a lot of influences from Randy, Macho Man Savage, Hulk Hogan, Lex Luger, all of these 80s wrestlers that, the 80s was a big time in wrestling, and I'm sure we got a lot of wrestling fans watching the show right now. 80s was big for wrestling, and then it just went from there on. Hogan is a diva. He is a diva. Obviously, so that claim is true, but Aronofsky denies it completely. Another fun fact is that Cage denies that he was let go. The reason he dropped down was, he claimed, is because he didn't want to do steroids, because he knew that the project required him to get physical, and one of those things was to use steroids, which Mickey Rourke didn't have a problem with. So, but again, those are...
Wait, they officially say that he did steroids, or
there is no official statement, but there is some unofficial claims and rumors that for Mickey Rourke to get ready for the role, he did do steroids. given that he was already from a boxing background, he wasn't afraid to take on that physicality.
So it wasn't his first time.
Exactly.
Let's just throw it out there. If he did, allegedly.
Mickey Rourke didn't care at all for the script. He grabbed the script. He's like, I don't care about this. I'll do the movie. The only reason he did the movie was because he wanted to work with Aronofsky. His agent had told him that Aronofsky wants him, and he already had seen movies from him. So he was like, I'll do it because I want to work with a director. I don't care about the script. In fact, part of the deal was that Aronofsky would allow Rourke to change the script and have Rourke write his own lines for the character. So a lot of the lines we see in the movie that Mickey Rourke speaks are actually written by him. So he's uncredited on that screenplay for his lines.
But like you can tell when an actor just kind of embodies that role. Like I don't want to for the millionth time to bring out Heath Ledger, but I think everybody can say, hey, Heath Ledger was the Joker. The Joker was Heath Ledger in Dark Knight, and those two just kind of combine. Same thing with this one. Mickey Rourke is Randy the Ram Robinson, and you forget that it's Mickey Rourke. And I know, like I'm slightly older than probably most of our audience or whatever.
Nah, we're probably in the median age.
But like I remember those I was very little when the 9.5 weeks came out, but I remember the buzz around that movie. I remember people passing that tape under the table. It's like hush hush movie. Like it's so rated R. It's an NC-17. Everybody's like, Mickey Rourke, Kim Basinger. You cannot believe what they do on screen. And nowadays, I'm thinking like, Jesus Christ, with the age of internet, whatever they did in that movie, it's like it's an Instagram post for the most of these celebrities nowadays. So, but I knew like Mickey Rourke as that celebrity, that big name, that Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, like Jean-Claude Van Damme, that 80s again, 90s, beginning of 90s, that big star celebrity. And then he disappeared because obviously you mentioned what he did, and now he comes back. And it's a sunrise and a sunset at the same time, and that's pretty much how the movie goes. And I love the beginning of it. I love how Darren Aronofsky tells the story. You got this collage of just pictures, and
I took that as a note,
as a newspaper clippings and the posters from the wrestling. And the guys in the back are commentating like different things going on. And I don't know nothing about wrestling. You know me. As many times you invited me to go to any events, finally gave up on that. I'm never going to be a fan. But I can watch and appreciate the art. Yeah. And when you put so many details in the movie and creating the scenes and creating the atmosphere and creating the backstory, you have to feel for the character. So I absolutely love the choice for this. And yes, he was born to play this role. This role was written for him. I don't know what else to say, but to just kind of go back into the loop and close it, I don't think that there's anybody in Hollywood who will not want to work with Darren Aronofsky. Like Marisa Tomei, she had to pretty much kind of like on her first day take her top off. Like
that was one of the first scenes to film. The lap dancing.
Yeah, and she kind of bears it all, which for the actress, I mean, and she's not young. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to. I'm sorry, I'm
not trying to knock, but yes, she wasn't young. She was in her 40-something, almost 50s when she filmed these scenes. Yeah,
like just typical. Again, nothing was like just throwing it out there, observations. Like usually the actresses, they kind of do it in the younger age, or they just kind of break that barrier to get into the movies, and then they stop doing these kind of scenes. But this one was like one and done. I don't think I even remember Marisa Tomei to be in any kind of.
No, I mean, obviously we all know Marisa Tomei from the Spider-Man movies, but she's famously known for My Cousin Vinny, which she won the Oscar for that.
And she was on a very, very awesome show, if I'm not mistaken, Rescue Me, right? She was there, right?
I can't confirm that. I might have to look into that one because
I have to look it up now.
She was not in History of Violence. You're confusing her. That was Melissa Leo. We can look it up in the meantime. But to add to that, like Marisa Tomei was actually very concerned about doing nudity in the film because she plays a stripper, and obviously like as part of the character, like if you're playing a stripper, you have to show nudity. But she was concerned about it. But the only reason she committed to the part, again, was because she wanted to work with Darren Aronofsky, because it's not an opportunity you get every day that your agent calls you and they say, hey, Aronofsky has a project and I want you to audition for it because your name came up, right? Like, he is known for making some weird movies. You know, we got The Fountain, weird ass movie.
The Mother.
Mother with Jennifer Lawrence and Javier Bardem. It's a mind fuck, you know, but hey, you got two great actors in that film and they still worked with him. Brendan Fraser, The Whale. It's a weird movie. Like, you and I both saw it, and how it ends, it's a weird movie.
So I feel like at the beginning, like my
I think The Wrestler is like his only like normal movie compared to everything he's done.
I mean, it's more
grounded,
mainstream without any kind of behind flow. Well, Whale is kind of also grounded, but it does not have those crazy visuals. It's more as realistic as the story can get. Like, this is I can see this being like a real thing actually happening, which is kind of sad and great at the same time. But you only can like dive in just
so before I do want to share a little clip that I found. This is Mickey Rourke interviewing with Charlie Rose when the film came out. This is his take on the role, and it's like a minute video, and then we'll dive into. So
that's why when the role was taken away from me, I was the only one who was okay with it, because I know why Darren Aronofsky wanted me to do this part. Darren knew a lot about me. He's, like I said, he's got a very large brain, and he knew he wanted me to revisit those very dark places, and physically he knew that I could get there. And me, I thought, wow, I'm gonna have to really work hard, and for no money, and I didn't know if I wanted to do that. But I think the part of my brain went, man, this guy can bring me back.
Yeah, but what was it you wanted to come back to? Being a movie star? I don't think so. Something else. Dean, you wanted all the things that were about that were part of the problem.
That I didn't have for 14 years.
Yeah.
Yep. Kind of sums it up.
Respect. That's all he wanted. He didn't want the fame that came afterwards the movie. Yep. He got that by automatically. He just wanted respect. He was gone from the scene for 14 years and nobody wanted to take him seriously. And Aronofsky was the only guy that said, this part is for Rourke and nobody else.
$2 in the part. We'll do it.
So really quick, before we dive in, a couple of things I do highlight. It's a wrestling movie. I'm a big wrestling fan. A lot of things that we see in the film is true. A lot of things that the character does in the film is real life. The locker room scene in the movie is completely improvised. It's filled with real wrestlers. Mickey Rourke was trained by Afa Anoa, who is he was part of the Wild Samoans in the 80s, big tag team group of wrestlers. He's also in the film. Ron Killens, who's known as R-Truth in the WWE world, is in here. So a lot of wrestlers actually were part of this film. Scott Siegel plays his dealer in the film. So they took a lot of information from wrestling. They film in real wrestling events. Even WWE helped promote the film using wrestling superstar Chris Jericho, doing an angle where he's like criticizing Mickey Rourke for his portrayal in the film. And they had this whole beef that it went on to WrestleMania 25, which is a big event for those who doesn't know in wrestling, to promote this film.
It's like a Super Bowl, right? Like
it's kind of like the Super Bowl of wrestling, right? 25 is only one night. Now it's done 2 nights in April, but it's the Super Bowl of wrestling pretty much. Yes. So WWE did help promote the film during this to drive the awareness of the wrestler. So,
but
a lot of the wrestlers also.
True, like Mickey Rourke was supposed to like fight in that WrestleMania.
So yes. So there is. So I found the clip, and I'm going to share it really briefly. It's a little long. So this is where it started. Okay. Mickey Rourke is live. It's in Larry King Live promoting the film, and this was part of the angle.
wrestler, actor, and TV
That's Chris
personality.
Jericho
Chris
right
has held
there.
6 different championship titles.
Is he like
in
popular? Is he like
WWE
Chris
World
Jericho was very
Wrestling
popular during the time of
Entertainment,
this film.
WCW
He was a WWE superstar.
Yes, I have
Aren't
seen the
the old
WrestleMania, and I
WWE
thought that Mickey did a
superstars?
tremendous job.
They're called
I thought he was
superstars because they don't want to be called
ball and
wrestlers
he did a
because
great job, made
it's
no
sports
mistakes in his
entertainment.
performances for
Okay.
any
It's a whole lingo because of that. But
Because to please
the
you,
biggest
I
thing
have to
about
get a
this
coach on
clip
my
here
team. You're in
is
the
that
game every
Mickey
day.
Rourke totally forgot that this was part of an angle, or he was not aware. He claims that he wasn't aware, but he might have forgotten. So he actually took Chris Jericho's insults for real. Like, he was offended that Chris Jericho, who is the one speaking right now, criticized his performance in The Wrestler. So Mickey Rourke really took offense to that, and in this clip, he's inviting him to fight.
According to you, it's scripted. But
This is
Mickey Rourke-
scripted. Yes, this is what we call in the wrestling entertainment
Talking shit.
kayfabe. Kayfabe. It's an angle. It's scripted. It's supposed to just play out an outcome. But sometimes, like, it's tough for actors who don't know the wrestling world because they can take offense to something that they thought it was scripted and they thought, well, maybe this is real. Hold on, why are you criticizing me?
That's not a challenge. I'm just answering. There's a lot of a difference between
So,
playing a wrestler in a movie
I'm still
and actually being one in
confused.
real life. And I think Mickey was given some bad advice in saying my name on the red carpet. And if you get
Did
your
he
wish,
say
Mr. Rourke, you will
his
not
name on the
be,
red carpet?
you will
It was all part of the script, but Mickey Rourke didn't know that.
Mr. Rourke, you may
what,
counter.
I think I'm hearing what the man say. Listen, I was visiting his world. He does his thing. He does his thing very well. And
Nice call, Ali. Thank you for
my
that.
foot in my mouth. And
Oh, so he's
I got
backpedaling the
nothing
Yeah.
statement.
but, respect for him.
Oh, he's like, I ain't fighting this motherfucker in the ring, even though he was the boxer for so many years.
And that's the thing. He in this clip says like, "Hey, I don't want to wrestle you because I don't know how to wrestle. But if you want, let's box together. I used to box. Let's have a boxing match."
Man does.
Yeah.
Well, do you think you
A boxing match, huh?
Yeah.
Bare knuckle match. Interesting, Mr. Rourke. That's very interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, I just found that I just did some research and I came across. I had to share it. But a lot of the wrestlers, wrestling entertainment, praised the film. Roddy Piper cried. He saw the film and he just cried. And when he met Mickey Rourke, he just gave him a hug. He said, "Thank you for telling a story of what some of my close friends went through and are still going through. Because some are really good and are superstars. Others live their moment of glory and they fall off, which is what we see in the film. And it's a reality for in this wrestling entertainment, this sport. And a lot of wrestlers praise that. So
Do you want to do like a quick recap of about what movie happened? Spoilers alert. Just kind
yeah. So
go through
spoilers alerts. We're about to do a recap.
Okay, so Mickey Rourke is playing the guy who's called Randy the Ram. He's a washed out ex superstar, as Ruben pointed out. He's a wrestler. He's doing these small gym type of wrestling matches. He's in pain emotionally, physically. He's completely wrecked. So he goes to these wrestling matches at night. In daytime, he tries to do any kind of other work where he just scrambles for some money. And at night, when he doesn't wrestle, he goes to the strip club where he meets with the girl who's played by Marisa Tomei. Her name is Cassidy in the strip club. Her name outside in the real world is Pam. Again, that's a character. And they kind of have like bond, but not really. Because again, he's a customer. She's a stripper. And they go back and forth. And one of the matches, which is brutally portrayed, and the way that it's filmed, it's astonishing. You see the two guys who are gonna wrestle talk before the match, just kind of, hey, are you cool with me like putting some staples in you? Mickey Rourke's character says, I don't know, does it hurt? He's like, doesn't hurt going in, but fucking taking him out may hurt. So they kind of talk about it, and then you see like the last few seconds of the match. And then it's over, and they show you the locker room when these two guys who are brutally beat up, like they bleeding, they got cuts, they got again those stitches or staples stitched into them. There's glass all over their bodies. They used the barber wire to hurt themselves. it's nasty, brutal, and realistic for the light painted ones. It's not a good scene, but in the meantime, they go like kind of Mickey Rourke remembers parts of this fight, so they give us this fight in little bits of pieces, not like linear, but it's kind of more like a Nolan style, where it's like a piece by piece, slice by slice, and each integrated slice gets just worse and worse and worse until at the end it just like climb this ladder and smash this table, and it's brutal and it's painful. And after this match, like just as soon as the adrenaline and the whole emotions stop kicking in, yeah, that's the scene. Mickey Rourke kind of passes out. He vomits and then he passes out, and then he wakes up in the hospital, and the doctor tells him, hey, you probably like don't want to hear this, but you had a heart attack. You should take it easy, stop taking all the steroids, stop doing the weights so heavily, in moderation, or you're gonna die. And he says, well, thanks for the good news, doc, but it's not who I am. My life is in a gym. So he goes back to Marisa Tomei, or to Pam, or to Cassidy, and he tells her, hey, listen, this is what happened. We want to talk to you. They come and sit in the van. She tells her, hey, I got a heart attack and I don't want to be alone. And she kind of tries to play it off. So she's like, oh, didn't you tell me like you had a daughter? Yeah, go reconnect with her. And the daughter is played by the wonderful
Evan Rachel Wood.
Evan Rachel Wood, who most of you probably know from Westworld. She was exceptional there. The first season is magnificent. Recommend. Don't watch nothing past the first season. You will regret it. So yeah, she's his daughter. He's been a lousy father. We don't even know nothing about the mother, from my understanding. I don't know where she is, or if she was raised by herself. We don't get any of that.
Yeah, we don't get that detail. Other than she's a recovering addict.
The mom or Rachel?
His daughter.
His daughter. How did you really?
There is some point in the film. I can't remember. I think it's Mickey Rourke that he's talking about with somebody, and he's like, "I get it, you know." He says like, "My daughter is a recovering addict." It is played out that she is a recovering addict or alcoholic, some substance abuse history that also like strayed that relationship between the father and daughter, and it's just sad. Like you mentioned, he tries to rekindle. There's a moment of hope in the film, and it just goes to shit after a catalyst that happens in the film, which is when Marisa Tomei kind of like, hey, I'm a stripper, I'm a mother.
Well, let me get to this point.
So,
we're just gonna
go for it.
I'll fill the gaps. They kind of like just important for my final thought, what you wanted to make. Sorry, didn't mean to steal the show. It's your show, but
no, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, he meets with his daughter. Daughter doesn't want to see him, doesn't want to do anything. He goes back to Tomei character, to Pam, to Cassidy. Cassidy is dancing. He's kind of like, hey, bummed out. My daughter doesn't want to see me. It's like, well, maybe try again. Go get her a gift. Here's a cool store. I can give you the address. Just go buy her something. And then here's the key point that happens first. You can notice in the movie. Well, you can notice it before when the younger guys don't want to kind of have to do nothing with Marisa Tomei, with Cassidy. With Marisa Tomei, with Cassidy. So the stripper, they can we want to see the
Cassidy's her stripper name. Yeah,
Cassidy's her stripper name. Sorry, if I'm all over the place, I'll just stick to Cassidy.
Yeah, just stick to Cassidy. Yeah.
So Cassidy is the younger guys don't want to. They have a bachelor party. They don't want to do nothing with her. Now in this scene, the next time that she sees like kind of there's not too many people who are interested in her, so she feels bad for herself. And in that moment, she kind of maybe wants somebody to care about her. So in that vulnerable state, she goes back and gives him a hope. Well, she tells Randy that she's gonna come and meet him on Saturday and go shopping with him, help him out to pick up whatever he wants to buy for her daughter in the clothing store. So they meet up, they go out there, they pick up some gifts, they go to the restaurant, and they sing along the song from the 80s, and they talk shit about Kurt Cobain, which Aronofsky, what the fuck, I understand all of us have opinions. They all like, but like, why did you have to throw my boy under the bus? Like, what do you got against Nirvana?
I mean,
in the 80s. I mean, in the 90s. Like they. Anyway, maybe it was the line from actually, which was created by Mickey Rourke. We never know, because he was probably a superstar in the 80s, and 90s were kind of rough for him.
Makes sense, yeah.
Possible. So anyway, they kiss, and she's like, "Oh no, I don't date clients." And then he's like, "Well, you kind of still have a beer left." And she does the beautiful moment where she just chugs the beer.
She chugs the beer and like, "Oh, I'm done." Yeah,
I'm done. Yeah, one beer, and she leaves. So now he gives the gifts to the daughter. They have a beautiful moment. They go to the pier of New Jersey. They talk. He cries. He says, "I'm sorry. Don't hate me." They kind of have that warmth of the moment. That's probably the highlight.
Who was supposed to?
Yep, this is it right here. This
is the heartbreaking scene.
This is the scene. You know this.
Okay for everybody.
This is where you win the Oscar.
This is where you win the Oscar. This is right here. This is the Oscar winning scene.
This is when they give you the golden statuette and just let you be. I mean, it was a rough year for him to win, and I don't think all of those 80s know that partying ever going to be forgotten by Academy.
I used to try to pretend that.
Yeah, I mean,
he didn't exist.
It's tough, and like, I mean, a lot of, well, not a lot of you, but some of you may know that
the emotion, like.
You're my little girl.
Yeah,
I just see Mickey. I think that's Mickey Rourke. Like, that's not Ram. That's Mickey Rourke.
I'm an old broken down piece of meat.
Yeah.
And I'm alone.
You know what's the saddest part for me from this scene is,
I just don't want you
like,
to hate me.
my family situation where like that I like it hits home. Like I live in that kind of world. So I mean, I'm not Ram, but I'm just saying, like, it's who the ones who know, they know. Like it hits home, like, and hard, because that kind of conversation may come to one of the people who I love and care about, which it's gonna be fucking tough. So good luck with that. But yeah, after this scene, he goes back to Cassidy. He wants to, like, hey, we had a spark. We should do something about that spark. I quit wrestling. I picked up more shifts at the meat market, and everything gonna be fine. We're gonna be big happy family. Me and you, your boy, and my daughter, and the hope. Right there is gone because she says, "Yeah, I don't date customers, and you're a customer, and I'm not ready to cross that line." So he storms out of the strip club and drives home. But right there's a little devil on his shoulder who taps him and says, "Hey, it's a wrestling night. Let's go see what the boys are doing." So he goes So he goes to the wrestling match, not to fight, but just to watch. And he sits quietly while two other guys beat each other. And the crowd cheers. The crowd goes wild, and you can see on his face that part where he misses it. So that's where that switch happens, where he's like, "This is where I belong. This is mine. I'm not going back." But before everything turns to shit, he promised his daughter that they're gonna go out and have a dinner, and this is the Friday night. They're supposed to go out on Saturday night, and he gets drunk with the boys, does a little bit of illegal substances, ends up in some girl's bedroom, who is obviously has a fetish for firemen. Like, when he wakes up and looks at the fireman boots which are on him, there's nothing. Well, his underwear, and then fireman boots, and then all the posters of the firemen around him. I'm just like, the attention to detail that Aronofsky does, because she also says before they go at it in a bathroom scene, she goes, we're gonna party like a fireman. And you're like, what the fuck is she talking about? And when the next morning he wakes up in her room, you understand what she meant. Like, just every little detail is out there. I cannot praise enough his skill for attention to detail and how he tells the story. But he wakes up and he's hangover. He goes home to sleep it off, and he sleeps it up, and he misses the actual dinner with his daughter. So he goes and tries to plead with her, but she's not having it. She's waited for 2 hours, and she tells him that, "I don't ever want to see you, don't want to talk to you. Just, here's the door. I don't hate you. I don't like you. I don't love you. You nobody. You do not exist. Just please never contact me. It's heartbreaking. It's just from the roller coaster, like you mentioned, of all the highs of the emotion, you're right at the bottom. And the only way to climb back from that low, before just the breaking point, is when he goes to the meat market, and there's a glorious scene where and I love how in this movie they have a lot of the third person shots. It's like if you ever play in any game like from the third person perspective, it's kind of when the camera, it's not first person, right? When you have a gun pointed, it's the third person, like they following you behind with a shaky cam.
Yeah.
And I think this whole setup was just for this one scene when he walks through to go out to literally
and that's
somebody's
an
meat.
that's an Aronofsky trademark. He likes to shoot scenes with a handheld camera.
And the you can hear the crowd going like as he's going to the ring, and that emotion builds up and it builds up, and he opens those plastic curtains to go into the hallway of the meat market, and the applause stopped, and the real life just hits them in the face like a truck. And in the final meat market scene, he has enough because one of the fans or one of the guys just recognizes him, so he storms out like any sales employee who should ever storm up. He cuts his finger, bleeds over the place, kicks every fucking thing in the market. Yeah. Nope, it's not me.
You're just like the dog, except older.
Dude, you didn't have to say except older.
That's what hits him, you know. He's
Fuck
like,
you. Yeah, like why did you have to be so mean? Yeah. And to everybody in the normal world,
viewer discretion advice.
In a normal world, that scene would be like the way that people reacted. But to Mickey Rourke, where he'd been bleeding all over the stage in a wrestling match for the past 30 years, he's been doing this as a wrestler, as Randy. To him, it's nothing new. He just cut the finger, maybe busted it open. They will stitch them together. He'll be good as new, but that's his way out of the reality. He's no longer coming back to the real world. The only thing that he's left is the world of wrestling, where he knows that every match will be his last. And he goes back and calls his buddy, his promoter, and says, I'm in, I'm going. He goes to pack. In the meantime, Cassidy realizes that maybe this is the way for her to be saved, or just to see maybe she can solve this, or whatever motivates her.
Yeah, I mean,
it's beyond me. I'm not. We need a girl perspective on this topic at some point. But she goes back. She kind of like, hey, you're not the customer. I'm sorry. You are, but I'm okay with that. Maybe we can start over. And he's like, I'm packing. I'm going to Wilmington. We're gonna have this big fight. I'm there. Yeah. So you be gone, witch. So he packs up. He leaves.
You do you, boo.
You do you, boo. So she goes back what she does best, and that is stripping. And it's a beautiful scene where she's dancing at the pole. And at the beginning, I was like, why? Like, we've seen her naked already multiple times. We don't need to see her again. Why is she doing this? Why is this scene important? But it's so important for the ending, in my opinion, because I did not catch it at the beginning. On the first watch, I really missed the point of the scene. But she's dancing and she's looking around, and there's no more customers. There's no more appeal. There's no more. In her career as the promoter of her body to the paid customers,
she doesn't see it anymore.
No, there's no more customers.
Yeah,
there's nobody left to be entertained with her body.
And
I know I'm sorry, it sounds sad, but like it's if you
it's the metaphor, you know, because Mickey Rourke was the only one that, like, Bram Jam was the only one that saw her.
And here's my whole point. I'm gonna close it up. So she packs her stuff. They keep calling Cassidy back on stage. Cassidy at the end, they go, Pam. And she realizes my name is Pam, where in the entire movie, every time that, because the real name of Randy the Ram Robinson, Robin Raminowski, something like that. It's So it's his stage name.
Mm-hmm.
And he always hated that somebody called him by
Robin. By his real name. Yeah.
And Cassidy on stage is Cassidy, so she wants everybody to know her as Cassidy. But as she walks out of that strip club, and the last attempt for the DJ to call her back, they call her Pam, and then she walks out, closes the door, and says, "Pam, like my name is Pam. I'm Pam. Like I'm out of this world. I'm renewed. I'm leaving this whole entertainment business behind. I'm back in the real world where I want to live the rest of my life, raise my kid." But she's like, I want to raise my kid maybe with this guy because we had a connection. We had a connection, but I feel bad about leaving him. Let me go chase him. So she gets all her stuff and drives to Wilmington as fast as he can. It's a very intense scene. Her getting into this wrestling venue, going through, getting to the backstage, and now finding her one true love as the narration wants us to believe, and they have a probably most brutal conversation of the whole movie.
Yeah.
And she tries to talk him out of going to the stage by saying, hey, you may die, you may have a heart attack, like why you go out there, why you do this? And he looks at her and he says, the only place I get hurt is here, and he points at Pam. And that pain in his eyes, like he sells it. That's another fucking Oscar. They should have given him 2 fucking Oscars for that. And he says, the world does not give a shit about me.
I'm going to rant about that in a second.
The world does not give a shit about me. And the crowd is booing, like the crowd is cheering, crowd is going nuts. They go wild. They chanting his name. And he goes out there and she sees this whole place just going crazy for him. And she realizes, like, he's entertainer just like me. They chanting his name like he has followers. I don't have followers anymore, but he does. And it's kind of like that mixture of jealousy and proudness in her eyes at that moment. And then he gets hit in the fucking face, because that's what wrestling is about. And her demeanor changes like that. She turns around and she walks the fuck out of there. Now, here's the question. Why? What changed her mind in that moment? And Aronofsky does not answer that question. I'm not going to answer that question, because everyone for you have to figure out, why did she turn around and walk the fuck out of there after he gets hit in the face? Because she was like literally loving him as the crowd was loving him. I mean, I have my interpretation, but I mean, again, assholes, opinions are like assholes. That's mine. And then he goes and has a great match. I'm not a fan of wrestling. I can't take apart on all the moves. What I understand, he jumps off the ropes, does his ram slam,
ram jam, which is a wrestler's finisher.
Ram jam, his favorite finisher.
Yeah.
And the countdown goes from 4, 3, 2 to 1, and we roll credits. I mean, it's phenomenal. Like, it's a movie for the ages. It's a movie to watch. It just it's fucking good. That's my take. All right.
So, fun fact about the ending. So they actually shot Ricky Rourke pinning his rival and him winning the match, because it's a rematch match. It's like every wrestler fan was waiting for this match to happen, but Aronofsky wanted to leave it with the ending that we get, because he wanted the audience that's watching the movie for them to determine if he either lives to move on in his life as a wrestler, or that was his last hoorah.
Or maybe he goes back, chases the girl, and gets the girl. I mean, you can
but
you can interpret. There's so many different.
It's one of those. It's an Aronofsky ending. It's fade to black.
Twists.
Yeah, fade to black. I'm gonna leave it like here. You determine whatever ending you want it to be. If you want this to be like he went all out with doing the thing that he loved the most, and he just went and he died happily doing that, then he died, because we all knew he had a heart condition that was played out in the movie, that they told him you can't wrestle anymore, because any extraneous activity, you're going to have another heart attack and you won't survive this one. All right. So thank you for that recap of the film. So here are my notes. You mentioned this earlier. I love the beginning of the movie. Like, Aronofsky does a great job to set you up for what you may think. Oh, this is your typical sports movie. It's a guy that is down on his luck, that has his career revitalized, and he wins everybody's heart. He gets the girl at the end. It's a happy ending. Everybody wins. No. You get that at the very beginning. You see the title cards. You see the font. It's all green to wrestler. You know, it's not... You got rock and roll pumping in the background. It's not sad music. And then, boom, it slaps you with the 20 years later. And how do you get introduced to Mickey Rourke's character? In a corner, in a high school locker room or in an auditorium locker room. It's not a big arena, because you can tell by what's surrounding him in the locker room. It's not prepped for a superstar. It's washed up. It's a school. It's a school. Even worse. It's a school. Okay? Thank you for sharing that. It's a kindergarten school, right? He's in a classroom getting ready for his fight 20 years later after living all that glory.
Because they give him the money. I think it's an end.
Or he's getting paid at the end. It might be the end, yeah.
And he's like, oh, sorry, we did not expect like this low outcome. He gets paid less money than he's supposed to.
And then you just get slapped with the story of a
non-redemption. It's a cautionary tale of anybody who wants to entertain in this world, whatever entertainment avenue.
From the get-go, Aronofsky is like, fuck you. I'm not telling you an ordinary sports story. I'm telling you a sad story the way I know how to tell a sad story. We've seen it in all his films. Requiem for a Dream, one of the saddest films that exists, because it explores so many topics. And I really want us to do that one day. It's a tough movie, but we should. It's kind of like American History X, where you got to like do it, rip the Band-Aid and do it. But I love that. I really love that that take. What I really love about this film is the character growth. You see the Ram. You see Mickey Rourke's character at the beginning of the film, and you're like, I don't want to root for this guy. It's sad, you know, he's barely making money. He gets locked out of his own trailer. He's sleeping in his own van. You know, he has an affinity with kids. He loves kids. He's playing with them, you know, in a non-creepy way, obviously. But then you feel like you get hit with the heart attack scene, and oh wow, shit. He's human after all, you know, after all, this guy's not invincible. And that's the scene, you know, you see the growth from there. You know, he realizes, you know, maybe this is my chance to get my life back together. You know, I just had a life-threatening heart attack. He pretty much died. He got resuscitated pretty much, you know, he had bypass surgery. And he's like, you know, let me get a decent job, make ends meet, pursue the girl that, you know, I'm in love with, but she doesn't know it yet. Maybe rekindle my relationship with my estranged daughter.
He's really in love with her. He just doesn't want to be alone.
Maybe he's in love with the idea of not being lonely.
Yeah, I don't think he really likes in love. It's not.
I think he just didn't want to be lonely, so that's why he pursues these things, because he sees it as a second chance to, like, maybe wrestling is not all about wrestling.
He just needs the exit plan, escape plan, just like
and then
strategy.
He try to reinvent himself, and then he just gets hit. You know, it's like, hey man, reality check.
But it's cause and effect.
It is. It's a Newton's law is at its best, you know.
I mean, we're not
the only place that he felt loved was his fans. So he leaves it all out in the ring.
But again, love of the fans, it's like today they love you, tomorrow they hate you. It does not last. It does not last forever. It's like euphoric. It's that drug. You take it at that moment as it is, and you just...
Yes and no. And I'll tell you this. I enjoy wrestling. I'm a fan. I'll say that. There are fans out there that are loyal. No matter where you've been through, they're gonna root for you. And you have a new batch of fans. They're like, "Fuck this guy," right? No, I don't like him. Screw him. You know, make room for the new guys. But you're always gonna have a loyal fan. And he's portraying. It's like, and again, we come down to, he is like we're looking at Randy Savage, Macho Man, everybody knows who Macho Man is. Even if you didn't watch wrestling, you knew who Macho Man was. He was a big wrestler in the 80s, early 90s. He had a similar career as Mickey Rourke's character. You know, he dissipated, you know, and then unfortunately he died at a 50-something age, you know, from but he still had his fans. He had a group of fans that didn't care for him, you know, like, we don't care about Randy Savage. But then he had legacy fans. He was like, this guy's a legend. We have wrestling because of guys like this. And this is Mickey Rourke's character. He is a wrestler that, because of him, we have all this, right? So in a sense, he knows that where he cannot get hurt emotionally, maybe, this is my opinion, right? You might have another one. It's in the ring. It's all he ever done. It's what he really actually loved before he tried to pursue a different type of love. He sees it like, I tried that. It didn't work for me. Let me just go back to my roots and do my thing.
Physical pain for these guys don't exist. Like they put themselves through the ringer. Like, this is one of those professions where, I mean, nowadays I'm sure wrestling got a lot safer than it used to be back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the days, it's like backyard wrestling. Like, this is how they fought. Like, in order for you to draw,
that's a good point, Adrian.
In order for you to draw the crowd, you had to get hurt because people want to see the car crash. People want to get you be hit by an actual chair. I'm sure in wrestling they start making probably phony chairs or something like that. I mean, I don't know.
They still get hit with real chairs.
I mean, they probably learn.
No, I mean, it's a lot different now. Yes,
and they take those hits more professionally because.
And keep in mind, you know, I mean, we're a little sidetracked, but like, we do see different types of wrestling in this film. Those hardcore scenes that we see in the film, like the staple gun, that's an actual league that it's kind of like backyard wrestling in a sense, like underground wrestling. And there's a different type of fan for that. Like, there is a fan for WWE. There's a fan for other leagues. There's a fan for that underground stuff that we saw in the film, like with the staplers and let me hit you with the thumbtacks and all that stuff. That truly exists.
So it's a different wrestling fetish. What you try to tell me? Every wrestling fan has a different fetish for their wrestlers. Okay,
it is. Yeah, I mean, and look, I mean, this is off topic, but I'm gonna recommend you something. Like, if you ever feel yourself like you want to watch something related to wrestling, that's like documentary.
I'll watch Iron Claw.
Iron Claw is a fantastic movie. It's based on a true story, but I would recommend you watch the Dark Side of the Ring. It's about 5 seasons. It's on Hulu. It just tells you different stories and there's sad stories of wrestlers and wrestling leagues that, in a shape or form, like, built what we have nowadays in wrestling. I would totally recommend it, and it's like it's perfect because it's not created for a wrestling fan. Anybody can watch it and be like, damn, you know, this happens even up. Like, this happens in wrestling too. Like, it's real life things that you're like, wow. I cordially invite you and anybody that's watching us to check out Dark Side of the Ring. It's on Hulu. It's like 4 seasons. It's in the 5th season right now. It's an amazing documentary series. But I want to talk about really quick. We're coming to the end of the show, but I really want to rant about why the fuck did Mickey Rourke win a fucking Oscar for this film? He won a Golden Globe. He won the BAFTA award.
Why not?
He didn't win the SAG. It went to Sean Penn for Harvey Milk, and Sean Penn beat him at the Oscars for Harvey Milk. Don't get me wrong. I've seen Milk.
See Milk.
I saw Milk.
See Milk.
I saw Sean Penn. Great performance. Not Mystic River quality, which I love Mystic River. He was phenomenal in that film. But look, the nominees this year, I had to make the notes because I was like, why didn't he win? Nominees that year, we had Brad Pitt for Benjamin Button. Not on a win.
Skip.
Frank Langella for Frost/Nixon. He portrayed, if I'm not mistaken, Nixon in that film.
Just next.
Sean Penn for Milk. Richard Jenkins for The Visitor, which I didn't know that film existed. And those who don't know who Richard Jenkins is, he plays the dad in the Step Brothers movie with Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. That's Richard Jenkins. And then Mickey Rourke. Like, why? It's such a bullshit. Like, this is Mickey Rourke.
We have a petition to Sean Penn to give back his Oscar. I think Sean Penn
think he should.
I think Sean Penn is the very huge asshole, and he not gonna give up his. But I didn't see Milk, but he was fantastic in Mystic River. I think he won an Oscar for that, right?
He did. He won best actor that year for Mystic River.
Yeah.
Again,
So
Mystic River. That
should've
movie.
kept for Mystic River. Like, he was fantastic.
Yeah. But
Sean Penn is great in Mystic River, and that's it. Keep it there.
And then Marisa Tomei got nominated for Best Supporting Actress, but Penelope Cruz beat her on that one, which is fair.
Vicky Cristina Barcelona.
Yeah, that was the role that Penelope. But she had tough competition. She had Viola Davis and Amy Adams for the portrayal of In Doubt. That's a strong movie as well. You know, about the nuns who are investigating sexual abuse from a minister or father in their ministry. And then Taraji P. Henson for Benjamin Button was the other actress nominated. So Marisa Tomei just gets a nomination. You know, she adds that to her resume. She wasn't gonna win. Not knocking on her performance, but
she could have. She was great. I'm just saying, she was great.
Yeah, I mean, not Mickey Rourke, right?
Well, Mickey Rourke did not had. Okay, never mind. Gonna skip down. All right,
I'm just mad. I think Mickey Rourke should have won the Oscar for this, and it's not fair.
I'm supporting you. I'm supporting your Rage of Terror.
Fuck Sean Penn.
Yes, fuck Sean Penn. Hashtag.
Other than that, yeah.
Are we gonna decide what movie we're doing from the? I'm assuming it's 80s thriller, or we're gonna decide on the next.
I mean, we got a couple minutes. We can decide that. So really quick, next week, for those who joined us when we were starting, we're doing Civil War by Alex Garland. Because of the time constraints we had, making the show short to the week, we had to pick a movie just to get ready. So we're doing that. But we want to pick a movie based on the decade and genre of your choosing. From our chat, we picked up, a lot of people voted 80s, and somebody mentioned thriller. So what do we have?
Well, how about we sit on this for 4 days, decide what we want to do, and then announce it on Thursday. I mean, on Tuesday when we do
Tuesday. Yeah,
when we're doing
that sounds.
Civil War.
Let's do that. That's it. We'll marinate on that, and then we can announce it.
We do the same thing for the next pick, I guess. We let people decide the decade and then the genre.
Yeah, we want you guys to tell us what we should do before we wrap up the end of the season, mid-July.
Or do whatever suggestions you throw at us.
We got you. We'll watch it. Even if we all know maybe it's a bad movie, we'll still watch it for you guys.
Prometheus, and I hope they did not get mad at us for kind of doing it maybe a bit misjustice.
We had some people a little upset with our take on Prometheus, so but it's okay.
I'm sure
it's okay.
I'm apologizing for my
sorry, not takes. Sorry. We tried.
I mean, it could be. You see, somebody picked the wrestler, so we only have two directions. It's like the vibrator. It only has two directions, on and off. So we can only do. Either we hate it or we love it. So.
Oh God! All right, dude. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to follow us on social media: MovieByte Podcast and Facebook, at MovieByte, at movie.byte on Instagram, MovieByte Podcast on YouTube. Share, like, favorite, subscribe. Join us as we digest your favorite movies. Check out our last week episode on the Batman, and if you haven't seen our other previous episodes, they're also all in our YouTube channel. We're also on Twitch. We're also on Instagram, Facebook.
We're everywhere.
We're everywhere. So please follow us. Thank you so much for your support. For those who join us live every Tuesday or Thursday, we appreciate you spending an hour with us of your night. I know it's not easy. I know you guys may have stuff to do, and we really, truly appreciate you joining us and share comments while we discuss your favorite movie. So without further ado, I'll bid you all farewell. Fuck Sean Penn. If you want to watch The Wrestler, it is available on Hulu or Disney Plus, because Disney Plus on Hulu has that merger thing, so you can watch it on either platform. So check it out. If you do see it, leave us a live comment on YouTube. Let us know what you think. All right. With all of that, good night, all. Till next week.